Hello YouTube, my name is Tyler. Welcome to my YouTube video. I will apologize if I look a bit like a hot mess. However, I think I look like less of a hot mess than the video you're about to watch. This is kind of an intro to the intro, which I think known for doing at this point. This is my June TBR video and it is a mess. Mostly because I had a really bad reading month and I just wanted to read horror, but I didn't come up with an interesting way to talk about how I wanted to structure my June TBR. So it's mostly just me rambling. I did not prepare for the video in an adequate way, and so I'm just rambling about books and my reading. However, I'm not gonna re-record, and that is because this video needs to be posted in 2 days, and I have spent the last, I don't know, like 24 hours painting my living room, and I'm tired. I'm dead tired. So I'm not re-recording a new video because I still don't have an interesting idea or way to structure my June TBR. So my June TBR is mostly horror themed, but there's some other things in there. I hope you enjoy listening to me talk for like, I don't know, 15 minutes with no coherent, put together thought. All right, I will send you to past Tyler. Hello YouTube, welcome to my June TBR video. This is just going to be a little bit of me talking about books I want to read in June. May was not a great reading month for me. My TBR really put me in a reading slump. I've finished most of it. I'm still working on Great Gatsby right now, but I should finish that by the end of May. But it was just a lot of duds for me. There were so many that started out really great and then just fizzled, and the end was so disappointing. And I just kept reading books I wasn't having a good time reading. So like Pride and Prejudice was just like, okay, there was nothing that really kept me wanting to read it. Clara and the Sun also was a big dud for me. I was so excited about that one, and it just, I almost DNF'd it in the last 80%. Like or at 80%. Like I've never DNF'd a book that late in the game, like ever. That's how much of a bad time I was having. Bunny was also a disappointment to me. Like I thought it started out great and then just kind of was okay. So I have decided I'm gonna read horror books this month. So I've picked up some horror books from the library. From the library. Katrina Brown talked about Sorrowland in her mid-May wrap-up, which really got me in the mood to read this because she mentioned there's body horror in this, and that's my jam, seemingly. So this has been on my TBR for a bit, so I finally picked it up. I was like, I'm gonna read that now. I also picked up another Junji Ito book from the library, and my husband had a second one, Ramina, that I have upstairs that I'll read. I'm already working on Ramina, so it may be in the May wrap-up. I'm uncertain. And The Sanatorium by, who was that by? Sarah Pierce? Checked out to me from the library. I don't think that's actually horror, but I think it's supposed to be kind of spooky. So I'm gonna read that. I can't imagine I'm gonna finish it before the end of May. So I assume it will be a June book. So those are some horror books I have specifically checked out from the library. I also have Sundial by Catriona Ward. This is an ARC that I did a book trade with a bookstagrammer I'm friends with. And I've heard good things about it. So I'm excited to dive into that as well. Especially, I've also heard great things about The Last House on Needless Street, so if I really like this, maybe I will go pick that up as well and read that. Really excited to dive into this. I don't actually know much about it. All Rob wanted was a normal life. She almost got it too. A husband, 2 kids, a nice house in the suburbs, far from her childhood home. Sundial hidden deep in the wild Mojave Desert. But beneath the veneer, Rob is terrified for her oldest daughter, Callie, who collects tiny bones and whispers to imaginary friends. Rob sees a darkness in Callie, one that reminds her too much of the family she left behind. Running from her past has led her directly back to it. What's buried at Sundial could never stay a secret forever, and Rob must risk one last trip out there to protect her family and her future. Interesting. So I'll be reading that. I also checked out How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. That Bookstagrammer I traded books with. She's a big fantasy reader, and she's trying to get me to read fantasy. And after the really terrible reading month I had in May, it's still May, but after this just terrible reading experience, I was like, okay, I'll try fantasy because I don't know, I just want to read genre fiction, I guess. So I want to read his horror stuff because I know that I like that, and I want to read maybe fantasy and see if I can find stuff that I like about that. So I was thinking about reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, but I instead decided to try and start with How Long Till Black Future Month because it's an anthology, so I figured shorter stories will be less intimidating to me, because that is one of the big things that concerns me with fantasy is lots of names, just huge, like very complicated books. Like when I think of fantasy, I think of like 800-page books and there's like 300 characters. So I'm hoping short stories can help me figure out what I do and don't like in fantasy without intimidating me. She also told me that there are some stories in How Long Till Black Future Month that connect to the 5th season universe. So hopefully that will help me get there as well. So those are things that I have currently on hand that I will hopefully be reading in June. But I have some other things just sitting on my TBR that were like easily available at my library that maybe I'll also get into. I'm thinking maybe like The Luminous Dead, which Paperback Empire talked about in her wrap-up. I assume not May, so what was the April wrap-up? Maybe I'll read that. Oh, and then I have books that I bought 2 ebooks. I bought an Eric LaRocca book called You've Lost a Lot of Blood, which I'll probably read hopefully really soon. I don't know what it's about. Like, I just don't even read what these books are about. I bought it literally just because I knew it was the same author as Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. Like, that is the reason I bought it. Didn't even look further into it. Hopefully we'll read that soon. However, I think it's like a full-length book. I don't think it's like a short novella like Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. I also bought Pen Pal, which is like supposed to be pretty creepy, I think, and it's like a self-published book that I bought as an ebook. So hopefully we'll get into those as well this month. Otherwise, let's see, is there anything else I need to talk about? Yes, there is. I didn't start this at all. My plan is to read 1 book a month that I bought at last year's Friends of the Library fall sale. So I will try this again in June. And if I read one book a month, I should be done by the time the next fall sale comes around. So we'll try Detroit Resurrected again. But speaking of books that I bought at the fall sale, I'm officially unhauling Kite Runner and removing it from my TBR. It has been on my TBR since 2017. And I finally just like really sat down and I was like, what is this book about? And so I went and read the Goodreads summary, because there is not a summary on this book. Like, it's only quotes about how great this book is, and there's no actual like, this is what the book's about. So I read the Goodreads summary and I was just like, I'm never gonna read this book. Like, I'm just not. So I am letting it go. This is one of those books that I just saw in the culture so much and just heard people talking about it like constantly when it came out. And so when I started my Goodreads account, I was just like, oh, well, I should add that to my TBR, because this is what people are reading and this is what people love. And just never really thought about it again. And I've just gotten to a place in my life and in my reading where I'm like, I am never going to read that. That is not the story for me. It is what it is. So I'll be unhauling that along with, I'm going to unhaul Pride and Prejudice as well, because I really didn't like this very much. I'm also going to unhaul Clara and Son, because I didn't like that. Bunny is interesting because I'm going to let a friend borrow it who really wants to read it and who I think will actually really like it. And if she does, she can keep this copy. Otherwise, I'm fine keeping it just because it's beautiful, but like, I can go either way with it. Otherwise, I've talked about most of the books I hauled already. I talked about it in my weekend vlog that I posted last week. I don't know. I'll put it here. But there is one book that I haven't talked about that I've hauled. And that is Outlaw by Anna North. I'm not a Western person, but every time I walk into Target and I see this cover, I'm like, that is so beautiful. I just love this cover. I don't know what it is about this cover. I'm obsessed with it. And I've walked past it like multiple times. And I was just like, finally, it was like on sale. They were doing like a book sale or something. I don't know. And I just bought it. In the year of our Lord, 1894, I became an outlaw. After a year of marriage and no pregnancy in a town where barren women are routinely hanged as witches, 17-year-old Ada's survival depends on leaving everything behind she knows to join the Hole in the Wall gang, a band of outlaws led by preacher-turned-robber called The Kid. The Kid is determined to create a safe haven for outcast women no matter the cost. When the gang hatches a plan that may get them killed, Ada must decide whether she's willing to risk her life for the possibility of a new kind of future for them all. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll like this or not, but it sounded interesting. The cover is amazing. It was on sale, so I finally bought it. And I decided to give it a shot. Give it a shot. Because you know what? The reason I figured out I loved Sarah Galley, I should really figure out how to pronounce their name. The reason I figured out why I loved them was because I picked up Upright Women Wanted, and that's also a Western, and I was doing it for a Pop Sugar Challenge where one of the prompts was read a Western, and I was like, I don't want to read a Western. I don't care about cowboys. I hate the Wild West. Like, I don't want to read about white dudes shooting out cowboys, robbers, deal. I don't care. And Upright Women Wanted was one of the books suggested for people who don't like Westerns. And that seems like maybe it might fall into that same category where it's like in old times, but also like an alternate past. I don't know. It seems interesting. It seems like it has potential, and it has like some feminist, maybe dystopian vibes to it. So hopefully that will be good. I don't know if I'll read that this month or not. Maybe, since I'm reading genre fiction this month and I'm already trying fantasy, so maybe I'll read another Western. I don't know. But those are some books that I am thinking about reading. Some books that I will be reading. I don't have a big stack for you just because it's a mess on my desk. I'm not reading any classics this month. Great Gatsby and Pride and Prejudice just absolutely killed my desire to read classics currently. Yeah, not happening this month, which is good because I don't have to. Like, I was only doing it just because I was interested and curious, and you know, I don't have to keep reading. It's not like I'm doing it for school or like some sort of overarching goal or anything. So I don't know the next classic I'll read, but it's not going to be this month. Otherwise, I think I kind of touched on all the things. I know this is a little bit of a scattered mess. I just wanted to do kind of like a check-in. Obviously, my TBR has not shrunk in size. I continue to buy books. And I continue to watch booktube videos where I add things to my TBR. But yeah, maybe you want to read some spooky books with me this month. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll see y'all next week, which will be my wrap up. So, bye.